Welcome to the podcast. Today, my guest is Mal Eastick. G'day,
Glad
Mal.
to be here. What a beautiful spot it is, right on Snapper Point, and the surfers there, and the atmosphere is very beach-like 12 months of the year. We really enjoy playing there.
And you play there once a month?
Yes.
Once a month. And you were saying you've got that locked in for another 12 months?
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to have.
It is. You know, that where my acoustic duo started was in Yamba, the town I live in. Can I tell you the story about what happened?
Sure.
Yeah. No, I moved up from Sydney in 2015. Naturally not knowing what my musical future would be in northern New South Wales. But I was prepared to give it a go. And ironically, within days of me getting there, I found the local free newspaper, had a look, and there was an ad for a band appearing at the Yamba Golf Club in about 3 weeks' time. And it was an American blues guitar player called DJ Bellamy, backed by a Sydney band called Storm Cellar. And I actually used to give guitar lessons to one of the guitar players in Storm Cellar. So I just rang him up and said, "No, I'm in Yamba. I've just seen that you're going to be up here." And he said, "Oh, yeah, we're backing this guy from Kansas. Why don't you come along and bring an amp?" So, okay. I brought one of my little deluxes down and met him in the back room in the break. And then he just said, "Well, come on then." And I played the whole gig with him.
That's awesome.
And it was good fun, but I didn't think probably any more of it then, still yet to know what to do to set up in Yamba.
Yeah.
I went back to that club about a week later just to have a meal, and the bar manager came up and said, "Do I know you from somewhere?" And I said, "I don't think so." She goes, "Okay." She comes back a while and said, "Were you here last week playing with DJ Bellamy?" And I said, "Yes." "What are you doing in Yamba?" I said, "Well, I've moved here." She goes, "Give me your number." And within a couple of weeks, I had a meeting with the management, and my blues residency, Mal's Blues Bar, started.
Oh, nice.
So I ran that once a month for nearly 3 years. In the last year of it, I got to open it up at Ballina RSL as well. So two wonderful singers that I've been working with for a long time in Sydney, I was bringing them up for that weekend. So, put a band together up here in northern New South Wales and brought my favourite two singers up so we could kind of do a bit of what I was doing in Sydney. And that launched a once-a-month residency in Yamba. I also got asked out fishing on the second day and caught my dinner that night. I just went, I'd like to live here. It's a beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place. Yamba is a beautiful place.
Beautiful climate too. But of course, I've seen a lot of music and been to a lot of places. It's definitely a quieter thing, and I do acoustic guitar there. But I've still got my electric thing happening by all means. And I've actually just been confirmed to play at the Threadbo Blues Festival in January.
Nice.
With my brand new band. It's called Mal Eastick and the Tone Masters. With Hammond organ and bass drums. John Mackey, the singer on my last album, is going to be singing. But I've been wanting to play with Hammond for a long time. And so, I'm very excited about that. See, so I've got the acoustic thing as my...
So you've got a couple. You're playing through a couple of Fender Deluxes, and you've got a Hammond with the guy's got a B3 cab.
Nobody uses a B3 anymore because
too heavy to carry.
Too heavy to carry. They are the best sounding though. But no, he does have Hammond. He's just got some more portable keys.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, I'm really looking forward to it. So I know we've gone right to the now. There's plenty in between.
Where did you start out?
Yeah, but
what got you into music to start off with?
Oh, I think it was around about 9 years of age, and there really wasn't any music present in my family home. You know, it was really more the cricket or the news or something. But it was when I was 9, a guy in my class just said, "Hey, I heard this music on the radio by this band called the Beatles." And I went around to his house and checked it out, and I guess I got caught straight away. Then I found the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
Another thing I noted that I think might have been indicating my, my desire to play myself, because I immediately noticed that a typical thing is half your class is into the Beatles and the other half's into the Stones, and they hate each other, and I'm better than you and you're better than me. And I just liked a bit of both of them. See?
Yeah.
So, but that was obviously the musician coming through, because I'd quickly kind of get glued to what the guitars were doing.
I mean, there was a real era back then when you were into a certain style of music, and people were very exclude other styles. There was with the Sharpies and the mods and all that sort of stuff.
Well, so I grew up in Adelaide, and I only read about a lot of those things in the music newspapers.
So what was life in Adelaide when you were young? There's lots of live music around?
Yes, there was, because as we know, the whole climate back then was just so much more musical. But Adelaide, is a much smaller town, still to this day, than Melbourne or Sydney. So the gigs were limited. And for any musician or band who wants to go further, it was sort of unspoken that you'd have to go east. So, I had a first covers band, went for about a year and a half, from at the age of 18 to, from the Beatles back then. It wasn't until I was 16 that I got started myself.
Oh, so, okay, so, and that's when you got your first guitar?
Yes, and started. So by that time, I think what had really glued me, since getting into music around the age of 10, was, lead guitar just grabbed me. And first time I got an album was actually, I was given a album voucher for my 14th birthday. And I went to the local record store, that was like 10 suburbs away, and listened to a whole bunch of stuff, couldn't find what I was looking for. Then the guy said, "Hey, there's a new album that's just come out. Let's check this." And I had this wild guitar, and I just bought it straight away, and it was a black and white cover of a Zeppelin.
Oh.
So it was 1969, and Led Zeppelin 1 had just come out.
Wow.
So totally unheard of, and, that album didn't succeed in Australia. It wasn't until Led Zeppelin 2 with Whole Lot of Love. But that was my first album, and then my second album I ever bought was Fresh Cream, Eric Clapton.
Ginger Baker and...
Yeah. Then when I was studying for my HSC, year 12, I was listening to the John Mayall's Blues Breakers album with Eric Clapton on it. See, so I was immediately attracted to blues guitar. Mind you, growing up in Adelaide was a free settler town. With, the majority of the population were definitely British, of Irish, Scottish, English. And then a big thing that happened, of course, was the £10 POM issue after the Second World War. So a lot of British families came out. We know that in every city, but in Adelaide, it brought an enormous amount of future Australian musicians. Because, it ended up with guys from the Masters Apprentices, the Twilights, of course, more recently, the Angels, Cold Chisel, Stars. It's heaps more to this day. So it's been a very... the £10 POM thing was... enormous amount of young guys who had the music in them,
well, I was just going to say,
that set the music scene alive.
Chisel started out in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Did the Stars start out in Adelaide?
Because
you were a member of the Stars.
Yes. No, I formed it.
What year was it that you formed the Stars, and what prompted the move from Adelaide?
Well, 73 was when I first got started with our first covers band called Astrakhan, and that featured Andrew Durant, who became the main songwriter in Stars, and also Glyn Dowding on drums. after about a year and a half of just sort of learning and playing covers, we, some of us were wanting to move forward. Some were making the decision of whether to go to university or be in a band, all that sort of stuff. So ended up forming a band that only lasted about 6 months, but was with Mick Pearling, who became the singer of Stars when we formed after that. So it was like an amalgam of two bands.
Yep.
But it was gradually honing out who might have wanted to make a living out of it versus who was going to change their career. I was really, I'd made the decision that I wanted to play full time. So Stars was formed, but only as a 4-piece, because Andy Durant at that time was just starting to write songs and was probably experimenting with a few different styles. But as a 4-piece band, Stars, we scored a record deal with Mushroom. I wrote the music of the first single. Our singer wrote the lyrics. I wrote the second single, but we weren't productive enough yet. Mm-hmm. And as a miracle, Andy rang me one day and he just said, I'm not really digging what I'm doing. I said, come back to the band. So he joined the band and wrote 2/3 of our first album within 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So that led to Stars' first album, which went gold and set us on the road. We were touring non-stop, usually working 6 nights a week and travelling on the 7th day for 4 years.
Wow.
3 albums, 1 went gold. But when punk came in 78, it changed things for all rock bands, including us. We were more of a country rock style, probably somewhat towards the Eagles-ish bracket. There was a lot of experimentation with discovering new guitar players that became my influences. Andy Durant's influences were very much Bob Dylan and, say, Robbie Robertson from the band. Mm-hmm. And he moulded a lot of his songwriting style on that. He also really respected Richard Clapton, Australia's Richard Clapton, as a songwriter as well.
He's a great songwriter.
Whereas I grew up, with, as I said, Clapton, particularly the band Free, Paul Kossoff, which then led me to discover the 3 Kings, Albert King, Freddie King, B.B. King. And, I could definitely, I loved really good blues guitar. So I was just learning that on the side.
What sort of guitar were you playing in the Stars? You playing a Strat?
Oh, well, as I said, I started off saving up for a Les Paul when I was 17. Mm-hmm. And that was the guitar that I used for the first 2 years. So I just found it really, really heavy and uncomfortable. And I was just becoming, a lot better and more aware of tuning and keeping your guitar in top shape. Mm-hmm. I just didn't quite marry with the Les Paul for whatever reason. It made me start doubting myself too.
Oh, really?
Then I tried a Strat. And although the Strat has, the tension on the strings, the scale length is slightly different to Gibson. So in that sense, it wasn't easy. But it pushed me further because the cleaner sound, you got to think a lot more about what you're doing. Because when there's a lot of ruckus, maybe a few things might not be noticed, but when it's clean, as I got told by a great player once, people hear your mistakes just as well as they hear the good bits. So, it makes a young player perhaps a little bit hesitant, but no, I got into it, and a lot of the great sounds that I loved did come from Strats. So I put the hard yards in with one that I just bought in Adelaide when I was, probably 20. Mm-hmm. When we moved to Melbourne after getting that Melbourne record deal, and then Andy joined us, as I've said.
Was Melbourne because Mushroom was based in Melbourne, that's the reason why you went, as opposed to Sydney? Was there a conscious thought about Sydney or Melbourne?
No, well, it could have been. But what actually happened for us was we got to open in Adelaide, at Adelaide's #1 gig that time, opening for the new Little River Band.
Ah.
And we were certainly quite awed by them, that's for sure. I mean, Rick Formosa, their first lead guitar player, just absolutely beyond, you know. And they opened, you know, so we opened from this little pub. We were incredibly nervous. I just want to jump ahead a second. They opened with Ramblin' Man by the Orne Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Which was like still to this day the best version I've ever heard other than the Orne Brothers.
Oh, wow.
It's like, whoa. But just back a peg, to my absolute but pleasant surprise, in the dressing room after we came off, and it was only one dressing room for both acts, so, you know, we couldn't avoid them.
Yeah.
We were very shy. But B. Birtles came up to me and just said, look, I love your band. If you'd like, give me your phone number and I want to see what I can do for you guys. Wow.
That's awesome.
So he rang back a couple of weeks later and said, I've spoken to Michael Gudinski for Mushroom Records and he'd like me to do some demos with you guys. Okay. So we recorded our first song, it was co-written myself and Mick Peeling, called Quick on the Draw. I just want to make a point, I didn't know the difference back then, but it was a shuffle. That sort of showed my
You've been champ for blues shuffles.
Coming out, yeah. But we made that and B. Birtles put one of his songs on the B-side and produced us at the most recognised studio in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. We moved to Melbourne and the professional career
Took off from there?
Took off from there. I should just probably add, because you mentioned Melbourne. Yes, it was because not only with the Little River Band from Melbourne, but with Mushroom in Melbourne too. Naturally, if we had perhaps been approached by something that was Sydney-based, that's where we may have gone.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Well, that makes sense.
And we were definitely, you know, we were like healthy rivals, I guess, with Cold Chisel because, you know, we were both doing the same gigs. We even did some gigs together. They were naturally disappointed that we got the record deal well before they did. But they also moved to Sydney, which was probably, you know, common sense, the two of us going in different directions, both aiming to, you know, make a career of it. But we used to cross paths once they were really touring as well. Sometimes we'd be in the same... In fact, I had a flashback tonight when I was driving up here. There was a tour in the late 70s where Cold Chisel and Stars end up in the same motel at Kirra, just north of Coolangatta. Yeah. Wow. So you just have some of these flashbacks along the road. But, you know, they were great things, but Stars really suffered badly in record sales and covering costs and that once punk had come in, which reduced our second album sales, you know, to only a fraction of what our first album sold, which was shattering at the time. And we realised that we were going to have to try and get ourselves out of financial trouble. So one thing that a lot of the public don't realise is for a young band to get started, even with recordings, you have to put a lot of money into promotion and becoming known. And you need the sales back to cover those costs. So the punk era really kind of did us in. But after we had been pretty much resolved to just working ourselves out of debt, Andy Durant was diagnosed with melanoma cancer. And, you know, we roomed together, we were close buddies. I just saw a small Band-Aid on his back one time. I mean, he's sharing a hotel room, you know, someone's got to take a shower sometime.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I noticed, you know, a couple of weeks later that Band-Aid was next size up.
Oh, it was growing.
Then it was a square one. I'm going, mate, what's going on, you know? It was the Band-Aid. Well, and then he brushed it off, like in a way that only someone who doesn't like doctors could do. Mm-hmm. You know, he was doctor shy. I ended up really pushing him and he did go, and that ended up, once he saw a specialist, rushed to hospital for immediate surgery. His melanoma was like on his back near the shoulder blade. And they had, cancer was a swear word back then.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm
It
talking
was pretty much-
1979.
There was a point in time where just the mention of the word was an instant death sentence.
And nobody talked about it accordingly. So
Yeah.
when your best friend is in a serious condition, it's pretty alarming that you don't know much about it. So I did do a lot of reading on it and trying to work out what's going on. We got the impression that the operation there was all fixed and we go back on the road. And we did get a sub-player while he was in surgery and recovering. But we had already determined our finish dates through the financial and record reasons. It wasn't that we wanted to break up. It was that we were stuck.
Yeah, it just wasn't financially viable anymore.
Yeah, and we were just young guys on a low salary trying to pay the rent.
Yeah.
So once that became known in the business, Broderick Smith asked me to join his new band.
And that was Broderick Smith's big combo.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember that band.
I was lucky enough to go to Sunbury when I was 16 and I saw Carson, which was Broderick Smith playing the harp and singing. I loved boogie. Then he came out with the Dingoes, and I can remember Andrew Durant and I used to go and see the Dingoes whenever they came into Adelaide. And
their big hit was Way Out West, When the Rain Don't Fall.
That's right. Of course, I tell people it's the Dingoes. Most people think it's a James Rain and James Blundell song. They only covered it was the Dingoes.
Yeah, the Dingoes. Massive big...
Yes. Karen Tolhurst, Chris Stockley are the two guitar players. I used to love that band and we'd go and see them. Right. Then it was around the time, or not long after, Stars moved from Adelaide to Melbourne, the Dingoes seemed to disappear.
Oh, okay.
Because I liked them that much, you sort of notice.
Yeah.
Well, they had scored an American tour. So I'll just put this in because it's eventually how I, linked up with Broderick. So the Dingoes scored a tour opening for Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Wow.
In the States.
That's a big thing.
And Lynyrd Skynyrd's manager at that time was the Rolling Stones tour manager.
Wow.
So this could have been a huge break for the Dingoes.
Yeah.
Not to be. That was the Lynyrd Skynyrd tour where they had the plane crash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think there was at least 2, maybe 3 of the band members died. For any support band opening for a big act, let alone if it's not in your own country, you're the least of their problems.
Yeah.
So the Dingoes were just caught in the States with nothing to do, nowhere to go kind of thing. It created their demise. Broderick came back to Australia and started a blues band. They were just doing blues covers, but what a singer and harmonica player. So once in the business circles it became known that Stars was going to be,
Finished up.
Yeah. Look, I just want to add, it should have just been a long holiday. It shouldn't have been a breakup. But it was just in our youthful ignorance. But Broderick heard and he was looking for a guitar player and basically the word came through to me through other sources. And he gave me a call and I thought perhaps I should grab this opportunity because I didn't know what my next job was going to be, but I admired Broderick Smith big time. So we got started and, as I've indicated my interest in blues and the country rock side, Dingoes was in the country rockish bracket, but Broderick was also a great blues singer and harp player. So it introduced me real quick to playing blues on stage without much preparation. See, Stars didn't play that kind of stuff. So I've got to say, blues is not as easy as anybody wants to say it is. Well, put it this way, not if you want to do it real well.
Yeah, and
which
not
is the only way I
think a
want to
lot of people think of blues, if you're not a blues aficionado at least, a lot of people think of it as being a certain generic, boring music?
That's because it mustn't have been played well enough. Yeah, I mean, the best of them, it works.
Yeah.
So that's just been a pursuit of mine. I've always, I've loved how music works. I love teaching guitar. I started teaching when I was 25.
How long did you play with Broderick Smith?
3 years. Yep. It started, the blues band I mentioned was actually called Broderick Smith's Hired Hands.
Ah.
And that's part of his sense of humour. Well, after all, we were, weren't we?
Yeah.
You couldn't deny it. But that merged into just a reformation of lineup and became Broderick Smith's Big Combo. And I got to tell you, it was a fantastic band. It was the best likeness I can give it to would be Springsteen and the E Street Band.
Oh, wow.
As we had a Hammond player on one side of stage, piano on the other side, myself, bass, drums, and Broderick, and with harmonica as well. And boy, did that band cook.
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
just playing to packed houses in the pubs
It
in
had
Melbourne.
a massive reputation as being a great band.
Yes, it really was. There were a couple of line-up changes and it started to dissipate in its power a little bit. One time we came up to Sydney from Melbourne several times, and I met and fell in love with a Sydney woman, which led me to move to Sydney in 1983. So I've been in New South Wales ever since 1983. It led me to, I lived in Sydney for 34 years.
Wow.
Before moving up to Yamba in 2015.
Going back to Andy Durant and the melanoma cancer, obviously he passed away, which was a tragedy. But I can remember one of the things when I was quite young, there was the Andy Durant Memorial Concert, and it was a big deal. And everyone that was somebody played at that event. And I remember having a conversation, that was something you put together for Andy and his family.
Yes. It was obviously became like a huge musical and business venture, but it was created out of love, quite frankly. I mean, I thought about it on the way home from his funeral. I was devastated, absolutely devastated. Perhaps even more so because in his last few months that he was alive, which was in early 1980, I was actually going over to, I've jumped one thing, if you don't mind. I just want to add that Andy went into remission, but not long after I started with Broderick, Andrew got a call from, one of his mentors, Richard Clapton, who invited him to come up to Sydney and play on his new album, which was the Dark Spaces album he was making at that time. So just imagine that, I'd started with Broderick, started January. Andy's gone up to Sydney, and somewhere around mid-February I get a call from him just telling me that he was going downhill fast. He couldn't even hold a guitar anymore.
Oh, wow.
It's like, mate, come home, and his diagnosis was terminal. And he opted to spend his palliative time at his brother's house. And I was driving over there most days of the week and just sitting beside him, knowing that he had unfinished songs and knowing that that's his voice. So it just became like an incredible brotherhood of trying to encourage him to hum or, give some indication of what he had in mind. And, we got to working on a few bits. Then his decline really sped up. So from February, when he first notified me that it was back, and he died on the 6th of May.
Oh, wow. So it's not long.
After he passed and, emotionally got myself together, I was able to listen to some of his home demo tapes and the ideas I was working on with him. And then I just set about knowing that I wanted to finish them. So keep that in mind. Right.
Yeah.
Now, on the way home from Andy's funeral, I just thought, this guy's music's just got to be heard. We're just not well known enough for this. You know, he'd only been on the road for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And he'd already written the best part of 2 albums. You know, songs like Look After Yourself.
You better look after yourself, 'cause nothing stays the same.
West is the Way, Mighty Rock.
The mighty rock, the mighty roll, once it's got you.
So it was definitely devastating, and I figured that the best thing I could do was to try and finish some of his work so that he'd be recognised.
Yeah.
He was destined for a very
Big
strong
things. Yeah.
career as a songwriter as well. He wrote every lyric, every melody that Mick Pilling sang.
Yeah.
And they just came in. I saw him write Last the Riverboats in our hotel room in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. So with this conception of presenting all of his music in one hit to try and preserve his name, and of course it would preserve the name of Stars because all the music was with that band. So in those couple of months after I named August to be the date of the memorial concert, I had to finish
I finished the
4
songs.
songs.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the biggest loads I've ever put on myself, partly because I was nervous of not doing a good enough job, you know, really wanting to make it work. But I also, I just had this incredible energy, just through my love for my best friend and the tragedy of him going like that. So with this gusto that I just seemed to find, I rang up our manager, Michael Chugg, Michael Gudinski, Mushroom, and Frank Stavala, who was the head booking agent in Melbourne, still is, for a meeting. And they, this 24-year-old sort of brat walks in and go, I want to do a memorial concert for Andy. I want to raise money for cancer research. I want everyone to have it. And they're going, all right, okay. And then stood back and I put it all in motion.
Yeah, that's awesome.
By the way, you know, when the curtain came down at the end of that wonderful concert, Michael Gudinski came out of the wings and just put his hand and said, you did it. You did it. It meant a lot to me. But picking all of those musicians, it was all something that I decided on, even down to who sang which song and all of that. So the only time that all 16 of us were on stage together was for the encore, Knocking on Heaven's Door, written by Bob Dylan for Andy.
Yeah.
Some say it's the best version ever recorded.
Yeah.
It goes for about 7 minutes and features all of those singers. It's very passionate, and that's exactly the way I want it to be. But of the 4 new songs, the absolute pinnacle of that concert was Ocean Deep. And Ocean Deep, I only finished 72 hours before the concert.
Oh, wow.
I've been pushing myself that hard. I knew I was really pushing my health to the edge too, but I had to meet this deadline no matter what. And I was up all night making my final decisions and getting the dub to put on a cassette. I'd picked Broderick Smith was the right singer for it, no doubt about it. So I think it was about 8:30 on the morning before the day it was going to be rehearsals. Brod, it's Mal. I've finished Ocean Deep. Could you come and pick it up? I've got to get some sleep. And he did. This is one of the magic moments of my musical life. When I got up after only several hours, he rang me and just said, Mal, I've got it. That's how he said it. It was like, I've got it. And I knew Broderick. I can see it. I see where he's coming from. I see what this is all about. And he did such a, for those who are not familiar with Ocean Deep, it's a song that the lyrics are literally about him about to pass away and leave this earth.
Storms of time and tide won't let a sailor sleep. Ocean never ends. Like the tide, I'll always roll out again.
Ocean deep, time and tide won't let a sailor sleep, On a golden beach, some of the lyrics in it are just heart-wrenching, really. Also, that sort of one foot on the platform, one foot on the train sort of feeling. So the fact that I finished it, I think within myself, I wasn't going to be comfortable with myself if that song didn't make that concert, because it seemed to be the pinnacle of everything it was about. So I'm glad that was achieved. And then Broderick just did a superb job. And in, some of the players, because, it featured Jimmy Barnes, Ian Moss, Don Walker, Karen Tolhurst and Broderick Smith from the Dingoes, both drummers in Stars 4 years together on stage. Graham Thompson, our first bass player, who was playing with me and Broderick in Broderick Smith's Big Combo at that time.
Yeah.
Mick O'Connor, Hammond player from the Big Combo, was in the Memorial Concert. Rick Formosa, our first producer, who produced the Paradise album, played some guitar as well.
Yeah, what a great guitar player.
Some of the singing, Richard Clapton, of course. So all in all, it was a magic feeling. We could tell. Everybody had underrated it, by the way. Maybe thought they were doing something for help. But we were at the Palais Theatre in St Kilda, Melbourne. Mm-hmm. That's a 2,500 capacity, and the curtain went up and it was sold out.
Wow. I do remember.
Somehow,
like I say,
everybody's heads got in the right place and remembered the right chords at the right time.
I do remember it was a big deal. It was one of those things. It was a big deal. I remember.
It was definitely done out of emotion. This gush just came to me and I had to do it. Many in the organisational side of things, tried to discourage me or tell me I was crazy or this is a bit too much of a dream or it's not really going to happen or who's going to really put into it. But the magic did happen and we thought it was only a one event, but our producer, Ernie Rose, who'd produced our second album, and he ran the mobile studio to record our third album, which was a live album. Mm-hmm. He was kind enough to donate his services and he brought his mobile down and recorded that concert at the Palais. And he rang me the next day and just said, Mal, I think we've got an album. See, this is how natural this occurred. It wasn't planned. I think we've got an album. This is too good to not release. Because we were doing it to raise money for cancer, Ernie Rose and I just put our hearts and souls into it in any few hours of spare studio time that did come up in his studio. I mean, sometimes it might be Mal, where the studio's free between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So we'd be going down there and trying to mix a song. Just imagine if 16 musicians, including 2 keyboard players and 2 drummers, all went down into only 23 tracks.
Oh, wow.
With a sync track on track 24 to link the music with the film. 16 musicians, including 2 drummers. If you add up all the microphones, in other words, a few instruments and definitely a few singers were all on the same one channel together.
Yeah.
And, sometimes a few slip-ups might have happened, and put it this way, our mixing job became quite an exercise.
Yes, I can imagine.
Over 6 months. By this time, certainly picking up some criticism that might be trying to make too much of this thing. Luckily, a lot of people who even came to our sound check took a lot of photos and donated all those photos. So when I put together, it became a double album, and the inner sleeves and also the inside open cover are all photographs that people took on the day and on the night. There's some magic photos, just ones that happened at beautiful chance, unplanned moments, even in the sound check and the like. So all of those were put together, and the album didn't come out until late January, February of 1981. And within 3 weeks it went number 1.
Wow.
It was number 1 for 3 weeks on 3XY in Melbourne, and raised over 150,000, which we gave to the Peter McCallum Institute in Melbourne, which is
in
where
1981 was a
Andy
lot of
passed.
money too.
Absolutely. Well, the album, going number 1 as a double album and a gold album, which I proudly have on my wall and I respect to this day.
Yeah.
So that was the first, we'll put it this way, the 70s. I got started in 73 and now we're up to the end of 79, where I started with Broderick. Now that introduced me to the opportunity to tread on the gas with my blues interests and stuff, but also songwriting, because we tried to write together. But I loved the album. It was one that also did with the same engineer, Ernie Rose, who's done great work with. And it's an album definitely very proud of, and that went gold as well. So it was a wonderful buzz.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was my Melbourne chapters before I moved up to New South Wales.
You obviously knew Jimmy Barnes from working in Adelaide. You were both Adelaide boys. And then when Chisel split up, I remember first time I ever saw you play live was at the Jet Club in Coolangatta with Jimmy Barnes. And I think what year that would that would have been?
I'm chuckling because there's a couple of coincidences there.
Well, how did that come about? Obviously, you knew each other.
Now, first of all, when I started, the very first band, Astrakhan it was called, with Andrew Durant from Downing, we couldn't find a singer.
Okay.
For quite a while. We were getting worried. We were actually in rehearsals. We were learning how to play, but without a singer. That actually really helps you with your arrangements, by the way. But we just couldn't find anybody. Then someone told me there's this young Scottish guy, right from the other side of town, which was, where the 10-pound poms were.
Okay.
And I started I heard his name was James Barnes. And just before I might have gotten a phone number or something, I got told that he'd just joined a band called Orange. Ah. Orange turned into Cold Chisel.
Ah, well, there you go.
See, so we actually did connect back in our late teens, and then, playing a lot of gigs together, and that we knew of each other since we were 18.
Yeah.
But 2 different directions, and look, I've got to say it's an incredible coincidence. I was looking back on some of my own history only 2 nights ago, and I remembered that Jimmy Barnes had mentioned me in one of his books. We know he's got quite a few books now,
Yeah.
but I think this one was the Working Class Man album. And I actually just looked it up the other night. It was because I was preparing a bio for just some of my history. Mm-hmm. And he actually wrote an incredible thing. He just said that, and I'll quote as best I can, that in his book of his reminiscences, he just says that he remembers when Mal Eastick from Stars rang him to ask him to sing on the concert for Andy, which he definitely wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And he rated me as a capable guitar player. Capable. But the words he said is, he says he went down not knowing what to expect. He thought that the magic hit, and he could just tell this guy Mal Eastick. I was just running on emotion. I knew none of this until his book, by the way, but he just said that my playing, and my dedication to it, he found, just incredibly powerful in his memory. And when he eventually decided to, make his break from Chisel and go solo, he said that he reminisced on the efforts that I'd put into that, and that's the kind of guy he wanted in his band. And that's why he asked me. So the answer is that it does go from, right back, and the fact that we grew up in the same town, we knew enough about each other. So he knew how powerful Andy was to appreciate what I was doing for him.
Yeah.
So in other words, the Andrew Durant concert indirectly opened that door.
Yeah.
After 7 years working 6-7 nights a week in Melbourne, including touring into Sydney, moving to Sydney and getting a gig was harder than I ever imagined.
Wow.
It's like starting all over again. You sort of realise people like to work with those they know and trust.
Yeah.
And I had to earn that keep. But luckily, Michael Chugg, who I've always gotten on well with, he brought out Max Merritt for a run and asked me to play guitar for him.
Oh, okay.
That was a wonderful experience, I've got to say.
Yeah.
And Max still had his original drummer from Max Merritt and the Meteors, the big Stewie Spear. After I did the tour with Max, I actually formed a band with Stewie. And Stewie then was, he would have been more than 20 years older than us. And he had a wonderful sense of humour. So, we used to joke all the time about we couldn't decide the name of the band between My Three Sons or Dad's Army. And I mean that with affection, because he was such a charming bloke and a wonderful groove. Not long after that, I was asked to tour on a sort of a joint tour with Glenn Shorrock and Renee Gayer, which introduced me to another range of higher level musicians. One of them was John Watson, by the way, on drums. Yeah. And I did that tour. That was definitely, I felt like the junior in the band. I was sort of really learning how these big guys do it and loving it too. In the meantime, I should say this time, Cold Chisel were in America trying to crack it with the East album. So when they came back, wasn't my business to anybody else's where they were at, but, Jim decided to go and do his own thing. I was stunned, to be frank. But after he started developing it, he asked me to help him with some of his song ideas. One thing led to another, and I'm sitting in a garage working out what to do with a song called No Second Prize.
I remember I used to play a cover of that song. I can remember the video clip that you were in. Remember watching this? Oh, who's that guy playing guitar?
slimmer then. Yeah, yeah, but that's basically I started just mucking around on some songs with him, and I didn't know what was happening in the background, but clearly he was developing a new plan, and it was for those reasons I just described that he said in his book as to why he asked me to do it. So that became, preparation towards the end of '83. I was on the road with him for 2 straight years. That included the Body Swerve album, of course, and No Second Prize. But the experiences, were really starting to open up, and that's what I'd always wished for with my career. Jimmy got offered a deal in America. He was over there, they wanted him to play with American musicians, but when he did his first recording, which was for a song that became a hit single here called I'd Die to Be With You Tonight, he actually gave me a call from LA and asked me to get on a plane and come over for the session. I'd never been overseas in my life.
Oh, wow.
But luckily I did have a passport. It's because Stars were hoping to get to the States, but we never did. Anyway, I did have that passport, so I said, okay. And he said, well, this is quite typical of Jim, can you get on a plane in a couple of hours? I said...
Just throw your life on hold.
I need time to pack. And I was incredibly nervous, not only for, the musical challenge, but to go overseas for the first time. I was always interested in music in America. I'd always wanted to be able to do some gigs in America, so I was very excited and got on that plane. That led to some wonderful connections. For instance, the songwriter of Die to Be With You Tonight was a guy that the record company had hired as a songsmith because he'd written the song Ain't Missing You At All for John Waite.
Oh, that's a great song.
Huge hit in 1980.
Missing You, that's one of my favourite. I love his voice.
I think he wrote, song Talk to Me for Stevie Nicks.
Okay.
These were both huge hits.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy lived under the Hollywood sign. He had the 3-story house, the recording studio, the yellow Porsche. Big record sales in America, big record sales.
Well, I was going to say, back in the days when songwriters were paid lots of money to write, if they had hits, if you could write a hit song, you were worth good money.
That's it. And the record companies who would, say, be looking out for somebody like Jim as a new singer to launch in America, they look to those songsmiths to come up with the songs.
Yep.
And that is also how Jimmy met the song Working Class Man. It was written by the keyboard player from Journey, one of America's biggest bands. And see, the record company knows the songwriter, the singer, this could be good for him, and so on. So I'll just come back to just my small involvement. Was the sessions for that were just incredible because Chaz Samford's there, he's the songwriter. Picked Kenny Gradney from Little Feat on bass.
Wow.
The drummer apparently played in ZZ Top before Frank Beard. And he hired Kim Carnes to do the backing vocals. She comes into the studio. And Waddy Wachtel.
Oh, wow.
The solo.
So they're all in...
So this is just blowing my mind.
Yeah.
And look, I just want to do a bit of a guitar equipment indulgence here. It was with Waddy Wachtel. I had seen him a few times. He came out here to Australia with Jackson Brown and with James Taylor. So I just really was interested, and it was like a rock and roll movie, I've got to tell you. So this guy rolls up in the morning to the studio and he starts bringing in tons of gear. And he says, well, I'm doing the cardage. Well, that's effectively, a roadie in America. He's doing the cardage. He's carting the gear.
Yep.
So he just brings in these huge road cases. And when he opened them up, it was incredible. One of these big cases, he opens the door, and it's like a velvet kind of interior.
Yep.
And there's the 5-string Telecaster he'd just toured with Keith Richards. Another Telecaster, a Les Paul, a Music Man, a Strat. Next case, amp heads. There was a quad box and you had like a Fender Twin Head, a Music Man, a Marshall, a Boogie, and probably a Soldano, something like that. And then the cartage guy says, I'm going now, I'm setting Waddy up in the next studio. There's the American session players, right? So
Yeah.
might be doing 2 or 3 albums in a day. Maybe only one song, and he only just did that one song. But I got to say, it was one of the magic moments of my career because, you know, he's an incredible character with the long red hair and thick glasses, but a wonderful player, and he just comes in, and it's like the surgeon, and the engineer's the nurse, and he's listening to it and going, sorry, not the engineer, his guitar tech.
Yeah.
He's going, Les Paul. No, hang on a sec. Telecaster and the Music Man. Yeah, we'll run with that. Okay, the guy goes out and of course, young guitar player like me is just going, I can remember lifting. It was a different setup. So he hears it and he's listening to the whole track. They choose an effect to put on the guitar and he just did it in 2 takes. See you guys, packs up and heads off to his next session.
Wow.
And there, you know, I mean, doing the final mix, and it was released in Australia for his next tour. So I remember he asked me to come home before him, and I started rehearsals with the band. So as soon as Jimmy got back, a couple of rehearsals and straight out on the road.
Wow.
See, so that was an incredible experience, my first visit to the US, and to see how American musicians work and record, and their focus and professionalism is second to none. Another weird thing happened. It was totally unexpected. About a month after I got home, I got this white envelope in the mail from California. What's this? And it was like an American Musicians Union managed, for want of a better word, check, because everybody who does a session
Gets
is
paid. Yeah.
And doesn't happen here.
No.
But I actually got paid. I'm not going to say it was a lot of money, but for a guy who wasn't making much money, it was gobsmacking, and it just rounded the whole thing off as an experience that made me want to get back to America and do some more, if I possibly could.
Yeah.
Anyway, I continued to tour with Jim for the next months, and the Body Swerve album had been successful and went platinum. And the Working Class Man deal became an unusual arrangement with his record company in America, where basically they picked half of the Body Swerve album, which I'm in.
Yep.
Die to Be With You Tonight is the first American track, but I'm in that one. Then the rest were all American musicians with other songwriters from the States. And that became, the big release of the Working Class Man album. And then on he went, and at the end of 85, I went in a different direction too.
Do you still get any ongoing payments from playing on that stuff?
Let's just say it was a long time ago, and he's made many, many, many albums since then.
Yes, that's true.
Some of those songs might be on best ofs, but funnily enough, I reckon it's a little bit like the Led Zeppelin story. The first album was establishing him as the Working Class Man's the one that really...
Working Class Man has been such a massive thing for him, and I think it's basically something that he's used I mean, his latest book comes out and it's about the working class man. He's doing there's a TV thing that's happening at the moment, and it's all about working class man. And he calls himself the working class. It's like it's become his, I guess, part of his brand, really.
There's a weird story behind that, you know, because basically...
Oh, that's my diabetes going nuts.
Oh.
I'm fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thought that might have been saying edit point.
No, that's an alarm saying my blood sugar's getting a bit low. That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I feel fine at the moment.
Right. I mean, Jim's record company, I think I could fairly say this is a general American music business approach. They don't welcome musicians from overseas.
Oh, wow.
They'll get a guy like Jimmy and they want him to use American musicians. They're very self-protective in that way.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who had the possibility as a drummer and was headhunted by an American band who wanted him to play in their band, and the American couldn't get a visa. Didn't have a high enough profile. Something like that. So they don't.
Well, for Australians, certainly back then at least, to get a green card, it was like you had to prove you could do something no American can do.
Mm.
Well, how does a guitar player prove you can do something no American can do?
Yeah.
They invented the electric guitar.
Yeah.
So basically the way that acts can get into America has really got to be via getting a record contract, and the record company looks after all that stuff.
Yeah.
See, so Jimmy did have that offer from Geffen Records. I think there's a slight twist to the story, and that is that No Second Prize was aimed to be his debut single in America.
Mm-hmm.
But when the links came with the movie Working Class Man, they put together that song that had been written could suit this singer from Australia. And they made that merger and basically pushed No Second Prize
To the side.
off the way to go with that. But the real reality is it was a John Howard movie, very successful producer, and he wanted that song. So the record company was figuring, why go with this Australian hit that we found him with? Why not go with this song that's going to be in a Ron Howard movie?
Which is going to give it lots of exposure.
And the movie failed.
Oh.
It wasn't called Working Class Man. I wish I could remember the title. It's just one Japanese word.
Ah.
But it was about Japanese investment in American factories, something to do with that. And hence the relevance of Working Class Man. But when the movie was not successful, that really put a dampener on where Jimmy was going to go.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, only he can tell you from that point on, but that made things a bit more difficult because it wasn't the success they predicted. Furthermore, out in Australia, they changed the name of the movie to Working Class Man because it already had the hit with the song.
Oh, wow.
So the way to sell the movie in the cinemas was actually to use the title of Jimmy's single, which was not the official title of the movie.
Oh, wow.
See, so when a movie was not successful, the most famous thing about it ended up coming, the song Working Class Man.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so 85, and you've parted ways with the Jimmy Barnes touring extravaganza. What do you decide to do for yourself after that?
Well, what happened for me as a blues, the blues part of me was always... Look, I'm feeling I need to clarify that a bit. It's not like emulating particular blues musicians. It's more like my own feelings inside, the way my life has had its ups and downs and arounds. And
you had your own original take on what that meant.
That's right. And yeah, I knew that there was a voice trying to get out. And the fact that I don't sing meant it definitely had to come through this thing. So looking for the right influences was a big part of what I was doing. It was actually when we were in the studio recording the Body Swerve album, I first heard about this Texan guitar player called Stevie Ray Vaughan, who'd just arrived on the scene. I saw Love Struck Baby on it came out on the radio, and I just pulled my car to the side of the road. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And that guitar solo, and it's not easy either. It is a solo to die for.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow, who is this guy? I bought the album, and the last track on the album was this beautiful slow instrumental called Lenny.
Oh.
And it just captivated me because it's a beautiful, clean sound with atmosphere and sincerity and sensitivity, and it's got some aggro bits and some quiet bits. It was while I was doing Jimmy's Body Swerve album, there were times when I wasn't required for 1 or 2 days. You know, they might have been working on some of the effects or the drum sound or who knows. So I would go off into a quiet little corner of maybe the microphone room or something, learning Lenny by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
So when it was heading towards the end of 1985, and I could tell that Jimmy was getting pushed more towards the American sort of angle, and just sensed that my time had come. And I thought, why not start my own band to play the guitar music I've always wanted to play, that are my influences.
Yeah.
And not being a singer, I'd never been able to do that. So I think another thing that made it easy was Shauna Jensen was one of the 3 women backing singers on the tour. She had left the band not long before. We got on really well, so I asked her whether she would like to, because she'd been a session singer, take lead vocal in my band, and we worked together for the next 2 years.
Wow.
Able to, you know, basically pull from my my old favourite record collection. So we were doing, as well as, you know, the BB Albert, Freddie, we were even doing some, you know, Bonnie Raitt, woman's voice.
Yeah.
Oh, even Free, you know, we even did, we did a wide spread of stuff, but she was a superb Aretha Franklin voice. She even did some of the ads that you might have heard on radio that sounded like Aretha Franklin. See, so she could sing anything, and an incredibly powerful voice. That gave me the freedom to see that maybe this can work. And while we were still in it was probably only 1 or 2 rehearsals in, I was offered the opening spot for Lonnie Mack, who's a great, you know, white blues player from Cincinnati, Ohio, who came out here on tour, and he played at the infamous Basement in Sydney, you know, as a high caliber musician kind of club, and my new band got the gig opening for him. So that only looked like one gig, right? You know, doing a 40-minute set. That's it. What are we going to do after that? Well, he sold out and sold out and sold out, and it ended up being 8 sold-out shows.
Wow.
Got to meet him off stage and talk to him a bit, and then, I'm only saying this because these are all definite stepping stones in my career, because on the last night, when he came on to do his encore, he just goes, "Is Mal Eastick in the house anywhere?" I was pretty nervous. I got the guitar out of the case, and when we were getting up there, I was tuning. It's because I was You know, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
He was very clever. He said, "You ready?" I said, "Yep." And he says, "You pick." As in, you pick the song.
Oh, wow.
"I'm Ready" by Freddie King. I was doing it. He goes, "Okay, you start." This is what Americans can do. It's just, they put you on the spot.
Yeah.
And I got to admit, I started a bit too fast because I was nervous.
Oh, okay.
And I think the speed of the track suited him more than me. Anyway, these were magic moments, you know, the moments that I had with all the lineups I've told you so far. But, you know, with the fact that Jimmy got me to put my feet overseas for at least a short while and see some higher goals to reach, then starting my own band. That took courage, I've got to say, because people are used to seeing the name of the band being the singer.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it really made me work in a new way, a different way, but that's probably the makings of me. I want the challenge, and I'm not one to just want to keep playing the same songs all the time and expect to improve, see. So it was a great challenge. Opening for Lonnie Mack really inspired me. He asked me up on stage because he thought I could do it. And see, that was to build my confidence. So my band was now on the road, and we got a residency at a famous gig in Sydney called the Sir William Wallace Hotel, which was only a very small pub, but it was in a tiny neighbourhood of Balmain where we'd play there on a Sunday afternoon, have like 300 people. Only about 60 could fit in the pub. So the whole intersection in this residential area
Fill up with people.
Even the neighbours on the corners had put up a picnic chair and have their esky. And we're playing, you know, like a slightly blues rock-ish sort of repertoire and having a great time. Then I was asked to open for Johnny Winter.
Wow.
In August. This is 1986.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd played a couple of Johnny Winter songs back in my first band, Astrakhan. You know, things like Rock and Roll, Hoochie Coo, which is a Johnny Winter song. I knew he was lightning fast. There's no mucking around. But it was a challenge we had to take. Picture this, at the first gig, which was in a big RSL club, and there was a huge concert stage, black curtains, and I'd actually doing a couple of Lonnie Mack songs, and we were doing Lonnie Mack's version of Further On Up the Road, which has got horn lines in it. It's different than everybody else's. And I just sort of was looking, I only had a 4-piece band, there's bass, drums, guitar, and a lead vocalist.
Yeah.
I'm looking over at my bass player, and behind him is the corner, and the black curtains were pulled open slightly, and there's this white hair with the incredible Texan
Hat.
and feathers on the front.
Yep.
And holy shit, that's Johnny Winter. So Johnny Winter was albino and very self-conscious and did not mix with strangers at all. You know, just through those inhibitions, that's understandable. But, you know, the way he looked at me, and I knew I needed to meet this man, just part of my guitar journey. And his manager did grant me 5 minutes with Johnny Winter. It's incredible. You know, Lonnie Mack has a certain effect on his guitar sound. I won't go into detail here, but it was a kind of a tone effect that I had striven to do his songs. So I walk into Johnny Winter's room, and the first thing he says, "Hey, you got that magnetone sound." Lonnie Mack used magnetone amps in America, see? Johnny Winter was nearly blind. Oh, yeah. It's It's part of albino situation. His eyesight was not at all good. It was his sense. So he's just seeing this figure out there from his curtain playing further down the road and tells him he's got that Lonnie Mack magnet, you know? I mean,
So
these are the moments that have really enriched me when I
Yeah.
meet some of the great guitar players and just learn some of the
So
things,
it's one of the
way
things
they
you
think.
were sort of going for it, and he's basically telling you that you're nailing it.
Yeah. So it really meant a lot to me. But he was cheeky. I was doing Freddie King's Hideaway in my set. I was also doing Lenny. And I might have done The Stumble by Freddie King as well. This is Johnny Winter. We get to our second gig, which was the Revesby Workers Club in Sydney. And I do my set, and it all went very well. And Johnny comes out, and he just opened with this blitzkrieg, real fast, shuffle instrumental that included Hideaway and The Stumble and a couple of others. See?
Yeah.
That's the fastest gun in the West thing. So, love what you're doing, but I'll do it faster. These are great little milestones along the road that mean a lot to me.
So you recorded your own material, and we were talking earlier, and you were saying, and we were listening to some of the tracks, and I'll play a little bit of some of the tracks now for people to listen to.
Don't take it for granted, 'cause I'm It's the same old story. I know, babe. See if
And unfortunately, after your first album, you lost the singer. So, but then you did a second you got a second and a third album. So obviously you picked yourself up and moved on from there.
It was difficult though, because naturally I was hoping that I could score a record deal. You know, with my experiences up until then, I knew it had to be an album to get any further.
Yeah.
But I just could not earn enough money to save up for it, and went down a couple of dead-end streets, ended up having to pay for it myself. So even though I started my band in 86, it wasn't until 93 that I could afford to record myself.
Yeah.
And blues bands don't get paid much
No,
money
it's-
unless you're a headline act.
Yeah.
So when I did get to make that album, you know, my lineup had changed probably about 4 times until that band.
Okay.
But I knew it was the band to record, and I was very happy with the results. Still am. But probably only about 3 months after the album was released, my keyboard player and my singer retired. Retired from the music business. That hurt, because then I wasn't able to do all the songs off the album unless I found people who had that same ability.
Yeah.
It was a bitter pill to swallow at the time, and it took me, you know, plenty more years and several different singers
Well, I
again.
guess too, because
before
you
I
financed that
settled.
yourself too. It's like you've poured all this time and effort and money into an album, and then you find that you can't even go out and play the songs.
Yeah, and the story doesn't end there. These are the rises and falls of the music business.
Yeah.
And a guy that I'd gotten to meet, he was a businessman who'd gotten into the music business. He actually booked my band for a while. He decided to open his own record label. It's called Exile Records, released through Festival. And I had a finished album ready to go, and he signed me to Exile Records. And therefore, Festival Records are a huge manufacturer. They got all the right equipment. So they were making the albums and distributing them around Australia. Mm-hmm. And the album got good reviews, and things went well. But 2.5 years in, probably not long after 2 years into that contract, Neil Mummy decided to close down the record label, and he went into being an annual big concert promoter, the Threadbo Blues Festival. It's like, challenging the likes of the Byron Bay Festival.
Yep.
Festival Records were never, kind of blues rock inclined, and they decided not to continue my contract. Faced with the idea that my one and only solo self-financed album was going to be deleted, I couldn't tolerate that. Mm-hmm. Started my own record label so that I could re-release it.
Okay.
Bluefish Records. So I re-released The Southern Line, my first album on that, quickly followed by my second album, which I'd just made. See, so I wanted to get a label so I could put the two of them out.
Yeah.
This is something that, a lot of people never see these sorts of things in the music business. I'm talking a band struggling to get the money to make an album. Then when you make the album, if anything goes wrong, and all of a sudden you may not be able to reproduce it, you're back to square one. See, so a lot of these things have happened along the way. And I didn't get to save up enough money to make my second album until 1999, 2000.
Wow. So it's quite a few years later.
Yeah. That's when that one came out, but it's with a different lineup, of course, and it's, what I call a three-piece. It's actually four because, with lead singer, but I'm just saying bass, drums, guitar. No keys, no second guitar. So I made a real challenge of it in that I set myself to be able to reproduce that album live. Mm-hmm. So there is no rhythm guitar under my solos at all. And I guess that comes from the inspiration of some of those first records that I got. For instance, Led Zeppelin was just one guitar. Free
just one
was
guitar.
just one guitar, etc. Cream. So I took the challenge on, and it matured me even more as a player. The only reason why keys weren't on it really was because I never just found the right keyboard player to replace Simon off of the Southern Line album. So, but that album is definitely something that I'm very proud of, and they're my only two albums this day. If you can win lotto for me, I'll make another one.
What's life like in Yamba for you these days? And you're playing acoustic, a lot more acoustic stuff.
Yes.
Do you really enjoy playing the acoustic stuff?
Put it this way, I've enjoyed the challenge because I've never played acoustic ever before.
Okay.
Only a few things in the studio.
Yep.
So to do gigs on acoustic for me was very, very difficult and challenging because the way that I naturally play, I do bend strings a lot. So on an acoustic guitar, all of a sudden I can't do that.
Particularly the G string, I suppose. You can still, you get around on the B and the E, not too bad. But a wound G string is not good for bending.
We're going to come back to that. Yep. So I kind of struggled with it a bit at the start, and I couldn't see that this was going to go anywhere for me. Mm-hmm. A few magic things happened, and I got introduced to Cold Clark.
Oh, okay.
The manufacturers of Cold Clark guitars, who were, for those who don't know, they're guys who had a new idea for Maton. They worked at Maton. Maton wanted to keep with their traditional design. So these guys left and formed the company Cold Clark. And what's the specialty of their acoustics is their pickups.
Mm-hmm.
They have patented a type of pickup that's different to every other brand. And it's now regarded as the best pickups in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, patent stops other people from using them for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
But the difference with the Cold Clarks is you don't need the rubber plug. You know, the rubber, even Tommy Emmanuel, now recognised one of the best players on the planet. Still uses Maton, but he's still got the rubber plug.
Yeah.
Cold Clark set out to let the natural acoustics of the guitar be able to come out, and I love it. And bang, so once I got to know the guys in the factory, I mean, the Cold Clark factory, I've got to tell you, there's just a huge tree trunk at one end and a whole bunch of guitars at the other. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Everything happens in there. They've also bought the world's best fretting machinery.
Yep.
I'm talking for precision accuracy.
Yep.
And I went back to them to go, see, it's when you get to know someone, you know you might be being a bit, pushing the boundaries a bit. But I said, is there any way that you could set this up for me to have an unwound G string? So I can play lead guitar on it.
Yeah.
And once again, of course, for those who don't know, the harmonic settings on an acoustic guitar, they're for a wound
G string,
which is a different position to if it's unwound.
Yep.
So they just did it. They took the nut off the bridge, and there's a couple of very, very clever people involved in their design. And he just redesigned a cut of a new nut so that it would harmonically have an unwound G play spot on. And that's what I've been using now for the last 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How very nice.
If I had the wound G and was really restricted to rhythm or finger style, I would have been stuck, and I'd want to go back to the electric.
Yeah.
But I'm basically playing like an electric, and without effects and sustain gizmos, it really makes you think about what notes you play.
Yeah.
You don't want to be hanging on to something and expecting sustain. You've got to work out where to go. So it's been a wonderful learning curve all in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just doing well-known stuff because living in northern New South Wales, that's what people want to hear.
Do you ever play any of the old Stars songs?
Yes.
That's awesome.
I mean, today we opened our last set with Ocean Deep.
Oh, that's great.
Well, see, I co-wrote it. I'm so proud of it and so proud of Andy. Look, if I just detour slightly, but it's about the records. When it came, I mean, I've got a young son. He's only 24 now. Mm-hmm. For his 21st birthday, I mean, he grew up with his mum on the other side of the country, so I never got to see him in school holidays, unfortunately. But when it came to his 21st, I decided to ask him because I wanted to get him something special. Mm-hmm. What would you like for your 21st birthday? And he said, Dad, for my 21st, I want you to get your albums onto Spotify. And I wasn't really into it because we know you don't make many royalties at all out of Spotify.
No, I guess the thing is people can access it.
Yes, we just said, I mean, Dad, I play your albums in my car, my girlfriend loves them, but everyone says to me, well, where can we buy your dad's albums? They can't. So I said, you got a deal. And I got all my stuff up on Spotify. And, since then I've had about 43,000 streams, 43,000 more than I would have ever had if I didn't.
That's true.
Do that birthday present.
Yeah. And
the number one stream track for more than a year has been Ocean Deep. So, I mean, that's just priceless to me.
Yeah.
It means the world. So what I did with Ocean Deep was, considering what I've told you about only finishing at 72 hours.
Yeah.
And with Lonnie guitar, the right way to go was just to do the acoustic demo approach.
Okay.
To just get it through the line. But I knew that I wanted to do an electric version too. It's not rewriting the song. I co-wrote the song.
Yeah.
But I just, with a drum beat, Hammond organ and some lead guitar.
Mm.
And that's the version that's on my Southern Line album, and that is still... So that was recorded, well, it was written in 1980. I recorded it in 1994, and it's my most listened to song in 2025, 26. But that's how much it means to me, and I think... these are the reasons why I wanted to play music in the first place. It's not to be a rock star or to be flash or fast, and it's more from the inside out. My guitar's my voice.
One of the things about playing in a band is, in some ways, the band becomes like family.
Especially if you're on the road together.
Yeah.
You're all in one car.
When you were doing the Stars, it was probably, I can imagine that being at the age that you were back then, you guys would have been really close.
5 guys for quite a while. It was a Toyota Corona. It's a 5-piece band. You're travelling from Sydney to Adelaide non-stop like that. Yeah, these things really tried you out, but...
Well, you'd get to learn
we
about each other's habits.
We were early 20s, and
yeah,
you're always hoping it'll be better around the next bend. However, yeah.
Along the way, and we've talked about, and there's been so many highlights. If you had to pick one highlight, which one would that be?
The Andrew Durant Memorial Concert is near impossible to beat.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of others, but certainly heartfelt. Nothing can beat that. I can look back on it now and, and I hope for anybody who knows of it, who is hearing this interview, know that everybody donated their services. So the quality of the film looks pretty rough now.
Mm. But it's back, that's 98, like 80, 81? Technology's moved forward in leaps and bounds since then.
But it may have never been filmed. It was out of the generosity of camera people who did that. So there are many things that could have enhanced it visually if we had the time
and the money
and so on. No, it was an emotional expression in the monstrous kind, and we all did it without expecting that it would even be recorded, let alone released.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's raised over 150,000 for Andy's hospital was something awesome. Yeah. And see, I lived in Melbourne then, so I was actually at the hospital when Andy passed, and I was the one who handed the cheque to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
It was all how much it meant to me.
Yeah.
So...
Along the way, everyone experiences the lows and things that go wrong. Is there ever a time where you thought you might give it away?
Nope. I've had some medical issues and that too that have definitely challenged me a bit.
Well, there was a time, I read somewhere, there was a time where you couldn't play guitar at all.
Mm.
What happened there?
Well, there's a few issues. I don't want to talk about all of them.
That must have been incredibly difficult. I can't imagine what that would be like, not being able to play.
Well, I've had 10 hand surgeries.
Oh, wow.
To keep them going. It started with carpal tunnel syndrome. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yep.
That, basically it's a nerve getting pinched which starts to make fingers numb or aching.
Yeah.
And the problem too was also getting sleep because of really irritating you. I went to a surgeon in 1985 when I was with Jimmy because my hand was going numb while I was playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was freaking me out. So I figured that I was going to have surgery to be able to keep being a guitarist.
Wow.
I went to a surgeon who just happened to be a horrible man. who seemed to treat me pretty rudely. Probably he might have been an anti-guitar person.
Oh, man.
Who knows? But, you know, he didn't seem particularly interested, which was worrying me. And I said, well, when am I going to be able to play again? And he said, oh, maybe 6 months. And I'm going, guaranteed? And he goes, no, there's no guarantee. And that was his kind of approach. I went back out and played for 18 more years with a numbing hand because I was afraid to have
Well, I mean, I
surgery
guess
in
if
case
you're
it
earning your
impaired.
income off playing
That's right.
guitar and someone says you can't play for 6 months,
Yeah.
It's like, well-
And no guarantee.
yeah.
And by the way, you know, the traditional way of fixing carpal tunnel was to cut the hand from there to there and pull it wide open.
Oh, wow.
Because it's all in the centre.
Yeah,
Is where they've got to free the pressure off a nerve.
yeah.
So, well, I was introduced to a surgeon who did it keyhole.
Ah,
And see, that was from a surgeon who'd then known that I had a reputation as a professional guitarist and I wanted to keep working. He said, I've found the right guy for you. He's a guy who's mastered keyhole surgery. So that surgery was just one stitch hole there, and he did all the rest inside.
oh, wow.
But he's a guitar player who wants to get back to gigging as soon as possible. I had just forgotten to tell you that it started in my right hand as well. I got them both done at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Well, I wanted to get back on the roads.
So, yeah, if you're going to take time out, you don't want to take time out twice.
Well, a saying comes out of it. Well, do you mind if I... It's not filthy. But
No, it's okay.
the saying that goes with someone who has both hands operating at the same time is, well, how the hell do you wipe your ass?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I found. It's got nothing to do with... It's just, they're
can't
just
use-
that painful. You can't
use them.
put any pressure. So, you know, you've got bandages on them and not meant to do anything. But look, the great news, and I encourage any guitar player who has this problem, the keyhole surgery and, you know, the hands are like numb for 24 hours and it's never, ever been numb since.
Oh, wow. So it worked.
So I'm so happy I had it
Yeah.
done. But then over a period of probably over at least 10 years, other tendon issues started to happen. So I've ended up having, it's called trigger finger, tendosynovitis, those sort of things. They just all affect the movement of the fingers and the hands. So I've had keyhole surgeries. I've had 3 to make this little finger work.
Wow.
And one's there and my thumbs and that too. But they've all recovered well. I certainly can't play as fast as perhaps I could, but I've never been a fast player. So all in all, this takes me further down my road, which is more of a melodic player.
Yeah.
I'm not after the speed, I'm after the melody. I'm after the expression.
Yeah.
So they've kept me working.
I personally cannot imagine not being able to play.
Yeah, you did right.
It's just, I can't imagine what that'd be like.
I think for myself, I didn't have encouragement from my family. They really wanted me to get a real job and a house mortgage.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. But the music was calling enough to make me, should I say, defiant. I wanted to go down my musical road, and that's what I've done, and I've got no regrets.
Yeah.
I definitely would have loved a bit more financial success because, I haven't particularly done well there, just through health issues and divorce and other such things.
Yeah.
But I still do what I love, and my main hobby, even at home, can be working out songs and working out how to chart them better, so that because as we get older, You start remembering not quite as good as you used to, perhaps. So writing a few things out's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
But I actually enjoy that too. See, so I've sort of come to realise that I'm definitely one for the fine detail, and I just love how music works, what its theory is, how you do it, how you write it, any which way. I can do it all day.
If there was any person that you could that you've never worked with that you would love to work with, who would that person be?
It's difficult only because there's a few, vying for the spot. But I think probably overall, over all the years, I'd say Eric Clapton, Electric, White, but I also love the Three Kings. It's hard to even pick one versus another because they all play the same song differently.
Have you ever had the chance to see any of them play live?
I've seen Albert King.
What was that like?
It was not what I expected. I don't think it was what anybody expected.
Okay.
So I know it sounds weird. I've only got to go off hearsay, but I saw it happen. I didn't know why. What do you reckon when a guitar player, singer, looks angry and walks across and turns his bass player's amp off?
Well, he's obviously not enjoying what the bass player's doing.
He thought the bass was too loud and he ended up turning him off.
Wow.
He's a guy who played in a way like nobody else does. He only had a certain bag of tricks, but they are some of the very best. I did see him in America. I'd like to tell you about it. It was actually when I was over there with Jimmy in 1985. We drove down the main street of Beverly Hills and they've got a theatre, the Beverly Theatre. Think like, say, or in Sydney, the State Theatre, which is in the CBD, beautiful 100-year-oldish kind of theatre. Go past, and one thing the Americans do is they have their neon signs. They come outwards, so drivers can actually read them.
Okay.
We have ours.
So they have them at an angle to the
flat,
traffic.
so you're going like sideways to read it. See, so from right ahead, I said, what? This Saturday night, B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland and Albert King on one concert together this Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, we had the day off. I think it actually was very close, if not the same day, as when Eddie Van Halen knocked on the door to ask Jimmy to join Van Halen.
Oh, really?
I
didn't know that happened.
I was sitting on the sofa. I'm just a fly on the wall while Eddie calls in with his...
And so what did Jim... Obviously, Jimmy said no. Wow. Because that... Wow.
He was on his own road.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect that. He didn't want to come in, I guess, standing in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still.
But anyway.
That would have... Wow.
But I asked him if he'd like to go and see B.B. King and Albert King and Bobby Blue Bland, and he said no. So I had to... This is really weird, I mean, I'm in America for the very first time, and quite a few people told me don't go.
Oh.
The prejudice in America is way more than we are aware of. Most of the white people that I met through Geffen Records were calling me crazy for wanting to go to a blues gig.
Wow.
But not through the prejudice of the music. It was like you might not come back alive. I certainly didn't want to believe that. With the Beverly Theatre being in such a centre place, I just couldn't let the opportunity go. So damn it, I went. one of the magic nights of my life. I remember I got out of the taxi. Well, the taxi guy, sorry, I know it's a lot of twists to this tale, but when I hopped in the taxi, the guy goes, "Me from Puerto Rico, been here 1 week, where theatre?" sort of thing. So from what I remembered, I had to try and help him get to see B.B. King.
So you've been in America a week. He's been in America a week. He's not speaking the language very well.
I know. Anyway, so I get out of the cab and I see this Full House sign. So obviously I looked like I did, and I was so disappointed. And all of a sudden there's this tall black dude, looks like a basketball player, and he comes up and he goes, "Come with me." So I've got to walk around the corner into the darkness. But this shows how much I wanted to see B.B. King and Albert King.
Yep.
I went around the corner with him and he says, "How much?" I don't know what he asked. I mean, maybe it was $30 and he wanted 60. Who knows? But I had to pay.
He was a
it.
scalper.
He was a scalper. But I got in.
Yep.
And it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life.
So it was definitely worth it.
It would have been probably about a 3,000-seater theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And the audience would have been like 96% black.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't worry me. I mean, I'm not prejudiced and I love their music, so it didn't worry me. But just imagine the vibe. Like in the interval at the bar, there were quite a few men, like middle-aged men with their Albert King pipe and waist, dressed like their guitar hero, so to speak. Now, for those who aren't aware of Bobby Blue Bland, he was a man roughly B.B. King's age, big husky voice. But when I heard him, he was Rene Gayer's biggest influence. A lot of Rene Gayer's style was exactly Bobby Blue Bland.
Okay.
So it opened with Albert King, then Bobby Blue Bland, and then B.B. King. Seeing Albert King in that circumstance, that was 1985, and when I saw him in Sydney, it was 1991.
Mm-hmm.
They do some weird things, those guys. Like part of their style is they're the singer guitar player. They only play licks. They don't play any of the chords.
Yeah.
They'll have a second guitar player do that.
Are there any? What are the plans for the coming months and years for Mal Eastick?
I'd just like to catch up on what got me here first.
Oh,
if you
okay,
don't mind. Yeah.
Yep.
Since I made the Spirit album, I was off the road for a good while, including hand-ops and everything else, but it also had me sort of thinking about what I'd want to do, what could be perhaps done different.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it also can show me at any day of the week that by not singing, I have to be working with a buddy or someone I get on well with and can sing the kind of songs that we mutually want to do.
Yeah.
So after Chock was his nickname, the singer on my Southern Line album,
Yep.
after he left, I worked with two different singers who really limited what I could do and limited my, some songs they just simply couldn't do.
Yep.
Then I met a guy, John Makey is his name. He was in a band that opened for me in 1996. And I asked for his phone number and he became the singer in my band in March 97.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be doing gigs with me at Threadbo next year.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So he's the singer on my Spirit album. And we've worked together, off and on for, way past 20 years.
Yeah.
So good mates, and we've written songs together and that as well. I put together a show 3 years ago, which I put to the Threadbo Blues Festival, and they took it on. And they named it for me too. They wanted, they suggested to me, and I like the idea, to perhaps just do elements of every stage of my career. And we called it Mal Eastick's Review. Review by definition meaning the best of.
Yeah.
So I did do several Stars songs, several Broderick Smith's Big Combo songs, several Jimmy Barnes songs. But I also did some from acts that I've opened for. And I've opened for a wonderful list of players. I'm talking Buddy Guy, Albert Collins. I'm going to come to him in a minute. He told me a great proverb. But
Joe Cocker?
yes, but that was with Stars. Little Charlie and the Nightcats. And of course I've said Johnny Winter and Lonnie Mack. Joe Lewis Walker. Sugar Ray Norcia, who was not that sugar, he's a fantastic harmonica player, blues singer. He'd played with a Room Full of Blues, a guy out of Boston.
Okay.
Same as Ronnie Earle's another guitar player I really love. He's an instrumental blues player. See, so working with some of these people and getting their influences, I played some of their songs in my review show as well. Mm-hmm. I've done a tour with Eric Burden. Oh, wow. So, I put in Bring It On Home to Me, that classic old blues tune. Max Merritt, I did Slippin' Away. Max and I got on great. It was like a gesture, be it blues or not. It was the meaning of the song. Yep. And it's a very popular song too. So I just added a few of these ingredients as well as my own material. Then I met up with, wonderful piano player, Hammond player, Leanne Paris, who's married to a long-standing friend of mine. We got together to sort of take a different approach again because she's a Hammond and piano player, singer. My material wasn't really the right stuff for her to sing, so we were playing some of my instrumentals and vocal songs that were good for her, and we played at the Threadbo Blues Festival January this year.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So, I've got a few sort of irons in the fire. It wasn't right for her. She's got other matters on her hands this year, which has led me to put together this latest project. We are yet to be in the same room together because they're all, our bass players in Newcastle, singers on the Central Coast, the drummers on the North Shore of Sydney, and the Hammond players, on the southern side of Sydney. Okay. So I've got to get down there shortly and do some rehearsals. Yeah. But we've all joined together on we know it's going to work. Yeah. And I've presented it to the festival and they've taken it. We'll definitely be one of the strong acts on the festival. Cool. I'm that excited about it that I've already just placed a application for Broadbeach. Yep. I haven't played Broadbeach in 13 years. Wow. But I really want to come in with this one. Yep. And I'm going to look further as well. So this is my new project. It's not going to be the only one because the lineup that is on my Spirit album, I've actually now called that's Mal Eastick and the Spirit Band. Okay. And we want to get back together too at the right time. But I just want to reopen the door because since moving to northern New South Wales, when COVID struck, yeah. And I haven't played in Sydney now in 6 years. Wow. Not because I don't want to. It's because, there's very risky for blues bands in Sydney at this time. You would have noticed quite a lot of changes over the years, particularly in Sydney, in the years you spent in Sydney. What are some of the changes that you've noticed with the changing of venues, the changing of being able to play loud? I remember when I saw you play with Jimmy Barnes, it was bloody loud. I want you to know that everybody plays at the level Jimmy demands. Fair enough. He even bought the amps. Yes, I remember you were saying, because you like playing through a Fender Deluxe, and I remember seeing you play through two 100-watt Marshall with half stacks. It sounded great, but it was loud. Yeah, but all I can say is that that when I finished in that jobs, the amp stayed there and I
went
moved
back-
out and plugged into Fenders. Well, see, look, part of that inspiration was that I had bought my 2 deluxe reverbs second hand in 1979. And it was only because I'd read a few of my favourite guitar players had used them. I also had a Boogie amp for a while, and the designers of Boogie started with the design of a deluxe reverb and then built their ideas by further developing that. So I bought these 2 amps, and they didn't cost me much at all because they're both in real bad shape. One of them didn't even have a speaker, and it was a 110 volt.
Okay.
And the other one had a torn speaker, and who knows with the valve. So I just sort of bought them, and they ended up in the garage because they were never going to do a gig like a Jimmy Barnes gig. And when I was with Broderick Smith's Big Combo, and by the way, I should say, on Andy's concert too, you can see in the video, I've got 2 or 3 small amps there.
Okay.
It's because it really wasn't quite settled yet. But with Jimmy...
Did you enjoy playing through a pair of Marshalls? I used to love it.
Well, I certainly had some howling notes there. There's no doubt about that, and it wasn't a distortion pedal. Now, look, I'll tell you the way it happened. The very first rehearsals, I mean, none of us expected, right, the gig. It was like, wow, we didn't even know Jimmy was going to leave Cold Chisel, let alone. So I sort of thought, and I did have a 50-watt Marshall, so I thought perhaps I should take that. And Chris Stockley, the other guitarist, who was in the Dingoes, he brought up his Fender Twin. And we played for a short while. And Jimmy left the room for a while. Came back, we kept going. About an hour later, 2 100-watt Marshalls were delivered to the recording studio. He'd gone out to order them. 2 days later, 2 more arrived. So we were in a rehearsal room with 200 watts of Marshall each.
Wow.
And Bruce Howe, incredible bass player, but he was using Ampeg SVTs. They're 500 watts with 8 10-inch speakers,
Yep.
2 of them.
What they call the classic fridge.
So it was only when I read in one of Jimmy's books that he literally said that the freak out of going out on his own after Cold Chisel, he had to do something different. So 2 guitars, not 1, and keyboards, and it's got to be heavy and loud as. He just didn't tell us.
Yeah.
See, so the long and the short of it was, as I said, when I heard Lenny by Stevie Ray Vaughan and I was learning it in my spare time, it was just automatic to start my own blues band at the start of '86 and pull those little Fenders out, get them serviced, get them fixed, and away we go, and I'm using them to this day.
Yeah.
So over the next week or so, I've got a hell of a lot of new song learning to do, and I'll be down in Sydney probably in the first week to start doing some rehearsals to build this new band. And we aim to go down to Threadbo mid-January and make an impression, and hopefully definitely get some more festivals from there. So
Yeah.
right now I'm doing some duo stuff, but it's only about 4 gigs a month, and I want to see if I can get this happening as well and see where it takes me.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the very, very best of luck with it, and I hope I get a chance to see it. Last time I saw you play, I think, was in Coolangatta in a little venue, and you had a brand new Strat at the time. You only played a couple of songs on it.
What colour?
It was a Sunburst.
Ah.
That was, and it would have been in, oh man, 2000s maybe 90s, 2000s would have
It's
been.
a 1957 reissue
That's right.
that I bought in '92,
Okay.
and I had Texas Special pickups put in it, and I've also got a very effective noise reduction gizmo that's been put in the back by a luthier that have my guitars maintained by in
Charles Cillier?
Sydney. Sorry?
Charles Cillier?
Exactly.
I know the system you mean.
Right. Is it Ilias or something,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, for those who don't know, and it's the only reason why I accepted to put it in, was because it's not actually new pickups. It's using...
It's like a dummy pickup, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So by the use of the magnet underneath, it effectively creates a humbucker, but the second pickup is not altering your sound at all. So it's still the Strat sound, but getting rid of a lot of the buzz.
Yeah.
So it was for that concern that I actually bought a Clapton Strat, partly because he's got a noise cancellation system in it.
Yeah.
That's why I bought it. It's not my favourite Strat by any means, but I wised up to when I went into the International Blues Challenge, which is a competition in Memphis, Tennessee. Any affiliate blues club around the world, and the Sydney Blues Society is one of those, can run a competition of their own. The winner then represents your state in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
So my band won that in 2013, and we were the first Sydney band to get into the semi-finals in January 2014.
Oh, wow.
I was concerned about that buzz at the venue where the competition was, so I used my red Strat, and I was the only guitar player who didn't have buzz.
Oh, wow.
For that reason, I took it with me to the States, and the venue that they put us in for our first two heats had buzz. There were 10 bands per venue, 2 nights for your quarterfinals, and I was the only guitar player out of 10 bands that didn't have the buzz.
So
See, so it
it
served
worked.
me well.
Yeah.
It's not my favourite tone, and the pickup, the buzz cancellation thing that I've put in my Sunburst Strat still makes that my favourite workhorse guitar to this day. But if I do get much noise out of it, it can usually be cancelled by standing at a little slightly different
Get the right angle.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I was doing a gig this afternoon and that had that exact same thing going on. It's like, okay, it's like, oh, really bad noise. Oh, no, it doesn't happen there. So you get stand.
I know. You know, there's a gig in my hometown, Adelaide, that all big acts play at. It's one of the classic old Adelaide sort of sandstone front hotels that's been like tripled in size to become a big venue. It's got a wonderful stage, concert lighting, the works, but they didn't fix the earthing. And there's horrendous buzz in it. Why gigs do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do have to get around. Unfortunately, I remember with that venue in Sydney that's got real bad buzz, I mentioned it to the sound engineer. You know, we were the last in the room, just ready to go home. He was a heavy metal fan, heavy metal teacher. I just said as a matter of chat, you know, it's a bummer about the buzz in this room, isn't it? And he said, well, why don't you use humbuckers, and walked off. What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
No, anyway, I'm definitely intend to keep with the old trusty, honest equipment I have.
Yep.
You know, I've been told my tone is reasonably well regarded, so I'm not going to make any changes there.
No.
And it was my drummer of this new band. You know, I was looking for a name, and he just said, bloody hell, Mal, you got one of the best tones. Call it the Tone Masters. So I went, I probably wouldn't suggest that myself, but if you did, okay, I'll take it. And that's the new project. So
Mal Eastick and the Tone Masters.
I'd love to see if we could even get Byron or something up in southern Queensland.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on the road now 53 years, yet cracking Brisbane and southern Queensland has always evaded me. I wish I could change that.
Well, maybe we can. Let's
Any
hope.
clues?
Let's hope that someone's watching and they might reach out and make a difference.
Yeah. Look, I really think that a message that I would certainly like to pass on to younger players is to have the courage to chase being able to play what you love the most. If it's difficult, accept that you've got to put the work in. But the work never does any harm. And it's all about ear training too, working songs out. So I've just always really enjoyed that challenge. I also love teaching. So I love to teach guitar to the keen. I've got to say that Zoom saved my day through COVID.
Yeah.
Because once it was all lockdown, I was in trouble there. And I got onto the tip to use Zoom, and I still teach guitar today on Zoom.
Oh, nice.
To a few people in nearly all of the states of Australia.
I will put down below in the description all the links so anyone who wants lessons from Mal Eastick can contact Mal to get lessons. I put links for all the Spotify for anyone wants to listen to Stars or the Mal Eastick recordings, and for how they can basically contact you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mal.
I appreciate it.
It's been awesome. We're sitting in here, just so people know, it's now 12:15 in the middle of the night. Mal's done a gig today. I've done a gig today. So it's been a pleasure that you've made the time to come here and do this.
And we are certainly in a location with more guitars and amps than I ever expected.
We'll have to do in the future, organise a time when you can come up and maybe bring the band up and we'll do a recording in here.
Wouldn't that be good? Yeah.
That'll be cool. We'll do that sometime down the track.
That'd be good.
We'll make that happen.
So,
Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you all the next podcast.
Thank you.
Please thank Mal Eastick. Thanks, Mal.
Thanks very much for having me.